What up, what up, what up is the one, the only, but what do I know? Boxing back at you with another one here to speak on one of my favorite coaches in the game for sure, Coach Derrick James. Speaking on the pay-per-view numbers between Errol, Spence, and Terence Crawford, and hopefully getting a fight between them later on this year. Take a listen.
I love it. I think it's probably just because you hear, well, if we go fight, it's going to be 70-30.
Well, really, if you think about that, because I did the math on all this. I done the math, I'm telling you. So say hypothetically, he fights Sean Porter, because that's the competition we have, and we fought the same guy.
Right.
So with Sean Porter, the fight was $69.99, all right? He sells 130,000 buys. That is only $9,098,400. $9 million, but listen, Sean Porter got $4 million, Terence Crawford got $6 million. So what does that mean? They didn't make the money that the pay-per-view sold. They fought at where? The Mandalay Bay. 8,000 seater, didn't sell it out. Errol fought Sean, Staples Center, 20,000 seats. 20,000 seats, sold out. With a different ticket price, because in Vegas, Mandalay Bay, that's a bigger ticket price. They sold 700,000 pay-per-view buys. That is $52 million. Think about that. So you make, on your biggest fight, your biggest pay, and your biggest pay-per-view, you make $9 million. On his fight with Sean Porter, he made $52 million. Wow. So how do you even, because his fight was $75.99. Yeah. And so what happened, when you're talking millions, that 99, that adds up. So you can't round it up to, say, 76, because no, that penny adds up when you're talking millions. Yeah. So if you got one guy make $52 million in his biggest fight, another guy makes $9 million in his biggest fight against the same opponent, it doesn't even add up. Yeah. If it's a business. See, nobody goes into business not to make money. Only people who, I don't like to say this, only people who probably, for entertainment purposes, because it's entertainment for everybody, so they say it's entertainment. So only people who would entertain themselves are the people who may be more financially challenged than the other ones.
All right, so there you have it from Derrick James, Coach Derrick James, speaking on the whole split between Errol and Terence Crawford. Now, normally, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really like to get in this stuff because first and foremost, quite frankly, I'm not getting a dime of this shit. We just want to see the fight as fans. As a matter of fact, it's going to cost us money. We just want to see the fight. But the reason why I'm going to speak on this is because there's so much going on between, well, Errol should get, it should be 50-50, or Errol should get 70-30, 60-40, whatever. All right, well, let me first explain to you guys, when it comes to negotiating in boxing, unfortunately, in today's time, it's business first, legacy second. Now, shout out to RingTV.com, man. Definitely wanted to pull this up for guys, man. Like I said, remember, business first, legacy second. So it says Terence Crawford has generated a combined 340,000 buys over 3 pay-per-views. One Errol Spence pay-per-view typically produces more than that. All right. So when we read the article, it says, from the moment Terence Crawford, Sean Porter was announced, ESPN Plus pay-per-view was doomed to have a poor turnout. 135,000 buys is nothing short of dismal, but it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. I have spoken to several fans who have told me they refuse to watch fights exclusively on streaming apps over the last year. So that definitely doesn't help with Bob Arum putting, and I think that's one of the issues that Terence Crawford has with Bob Arum, because Bob Arum, he didn't really promote him right. But it says, I feel like there was a lot of opportunities left on the table. He told Porter Tuesday night. This is Crawford night on the Porter Way podcast. You know what I mean? Not only with fighters, but as pay-per-view. Like, for instance, me and Sean Porter fought on an app. There are so many people that was telling me they don't know how to get the app on the TV. So you see what, like, he felt like he was that, and that goes, like I said, that just plays into the hand of why Terence Crawford is suing Bob Arum, having him fight on the app. A lot of people didn't didn't really know even how to get into the app. So let me scroll down some more. It says, what it boils down to is the economic issue. The Porter fight was just another example of how Errol I bet money on Crawford. The pay-per-view failed to reach the break-even point. That's crazy. So when you break even, so for y'all that don't know, it's like how much now a pay-per-view success all depends on how much you break, right? So as evidence, the break-even point for Terence Crawford and Sean Porter was 150 buys, right? So anything over 150 buys will be considered a pay-per-view success, right? So it says the pay-per-view failed to even reach break-even point of 150,000 pay-per-view buys. And when you're paying 10 million, so the fight, it was 10 million in the pot, Crawford getting 6 million, Porter getting 4 million for a fight that doesn't live to the bare minimum. Errol's frustration was mirrored. It should also be noted that not every great fighter was a pay-per-view draw. Take note of Hall of Famer Andre Ward, for instance. Tremendous fighter, but from a stylistic standpoint, it was not everyone's cup of tea. His last two fights with Sergey Kovalev generated 165,000 and 130,000 purchase respectively. Not all that great, but they didn't prevent him from Hall of Fame. And it says, so one Errol Spence pay-per-view typically produces more than all of Crawford's combined. With Errol Spence, his bouts with Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia, and his two pay-per-view bouts with Sean Porter and Mikey Garcia did a total of 725,000 pay-per-view buys. So it's obvious that we know who's the bigger draw. I mean, even when it comes to ticket sales, Terence Crawford does great numbers, he produces great ticket numbers at his hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, right? He brings in a crowd of 11 to 12,000 people. And those are very great numbers, right? But then you have Errol Spence, who brought in I think his number was like 40,000 with Mikey Garcia, and 17,000 with Sean Porter. And so Errol Spence is the bigger draw, right? Now it's obvious that you can't deny the fact that Terence Crawford has accomplished a lot more than Errol Spence. He was a champion at 135. He was undisputed at 140, and he's the WBO champion at 147. So he's obviously accomplished more. But here comes the debate where Terence Crawford has accomplished more. Some would argue that Errol Spence still has the better resume. Fighting Kell Brook, when Kell Brook had the IBF, Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia, Lamont Peterson, Danny Garcia, so some will argue that Errol Spence has the better resume, even though, to me, if you watch boxing and boxing, Terence Crawford has a very underrated resume. He fought guys that are very good, but because they're not popular, people kind of really write him off as fighting guys that aren't so good, but in reality they are, like Felix Diaz. Many people thought Felix Diaz beat Lamont Peterson. Obviously he fought Yuriorkis Gamboa. Thomas Delorme was a good fighter at the time. So, Victor Postal, Jeff Horn just coming off of the, victory, even though a lot of people thought Pacquiao beat Jeff Horn. Who else? You have more recently, Sean Porter, he fought Kell Brook, maybe one of the best Kell Brook, maybe one even the best Sean Porter, but those are good names on his resume. So Terence Crawford does have a solid resume. It's not as popular as Errol Spence. Errol Spence being in a more popular division than what Terence Crawford was in his previous divisions, right? So, I really like both fighters. I really don't have a problem with whatever goes. If 50-50, 60-40 Errol Spence. I mean, we're not getting any piece of the pot, but I can't, if you're talking about the business wise, I can understand why Errol Spence feels like he deserves more of the pot. But regardless, man, we just want the fight to happen, man. Let me know what you guys think will happen if they were to fight, but what do I know?